Saw dudes. Are you looking for statistically the best loadout to use in most situations in Far Cry 5? If so, you came to the right video. In today's video, I'll be showing off the best in-slot weapons, the best weapons for certain situations, and the best weapons for memeing everyone. Stick around, and yeet! Alright guys, so I'm in editing here, showing you some perks before we get into this. The perks that you're going to need obviously to get all the weapons are this Prepper additional holster, which costs 8 points. And then you're going to need the weapons collector in the same category, and it costs 9. And that allows you to have the whole 4 weapons. And yeah, a yeet! Alrighty-roo. The first weapon category that we're going to be talking about in today's video is bows. Bows are great for the stealthy hunters out there, sitting in the shadows, waiting to strike without alerting the rest of the herd, so to speak. Statistically speaking, the recurve bow is the best bow in the game. The compound bow and its big game hunter variant are, good all-around bows, but they just don't match up to the information shown that the stats show of the recurve bow. A funny random bit of information is that you can swap ammo types in the game. Sounds innocent enough, right? That is until I tell you can launch arrows with the slingshot. Alrighty-roo. The next, weapon type category, whatever you want to call it, that we're getting into is actually fishing rods, believe it or not. And fishing rods aren't really a weapon in Far Cry, but since I'm doing a video on everything else, I just threw them in here too. Starting at the basic fishing rod and working to a path up to the best in the game, which happens to be Old Betsy. The fishing rods move up in a linear curve, getting better from the first 2 rods. The last 2 things are where things differ. The Wonder Boy has a higher rate of fire, translating to you being able to cast more often, but that stat is honestly useless as you can't recast constantly or you won't be reeling in any fish. The Old Betsy is the best rod in the game hands down, and there really isn't a reason to obtain any other rod in the game unless you just want it for completionist's sake. Alright, the next category is launchers, and there are only 2 currently in the game. There may be more being added throughout DLC coming, as well as live events that are taking place every Tuesday in April, giving out items, clothes, and weapons if you didn't know. And anyways, the 2 launchers in the game are the RAT-4 and the RPG-7. They share the exact same stats, the only difference being that you can control the RAT-4 rocket since it's a wire-guided rocket, meaning that it is equally as good as the RPG-7, but has added benefit of being able to guide missiles more accurately. That's why I'm putting it above the RPG in this guide.
Hear it, listen. It's what you hear it, listen.
Rat 4, gonna use it here.
For you to get it on your own.
Alright, the next category that we're jumping into is LMGs. And there are currently only 2 light machine guns in the game, one being the M60, and the other being the M249 SAW with its variant, Militia. They have mostly the same stats, but differ on damage per shot and rate of fire. The M60 has a higher damage per shot by 1, but lacks the +3 fire rate that the M249 gets. This choice is led to personal preference, as they, kind of have different uses. I personally prefer the M60. Its slower fire rate is easier to control, and you can definitely feel the extra damage. But then again, the M249 has a huge mag, and it shoots really fast, so you might benefit from that if you're into that, so yeah. Alright, the next is melee, and before I start comparing melee weapons, in which there are 9 currently in the game, to talk about Brass Knuckles. Brass Knuckles have a +1 range-wise versus default Fist, but add more damage and either make all the other stats compared to Fists equal or better, meaning there's really no reason not to have them other than not having money in-game to buy them, as it's just a straight increase to stats. Getting back into the meat of the video though, the other 8 melee weapons are worth looking into. The fan favorite of the community on Reddit and Twitter is the shovel, myself included. The shovel has the highest base damage of all melee weapons listed below, as well as having the ability to stick into things when thrown because of the point of the shovel. The default baseball bat has a -1 handling versus the aluminum bat, meaning you should always use the aluminum bat. The pipes both share the same stats, meaning you can use whichever one you like. The last melee weapon to talk about is the whack. It is a prestige weapon, and it's like a boat oar, and it shares close stats with the pipe and the bat. The only thing that the bats have is a +1 fire rate of it versus the whack, and the pipes have a +1 handling, so pick and choose if you want to use that. Statistically speaking though, the shovel is the best in the category. However, you can carry 2 melee weapons, not including your brass knuckle, so me personally, I carry a shovel and a bat. And you can kind of, like, the secondary weapon's personal preference. I mean, you could pick the shovel as the best and then use whatever you want, so yeah. Alright, we are on to rifles, and there are 4 different types of rifles in the game, 13 including variants. Best in class rifle is the AK-47. The 4570 has the highest damage per shot, but it shoots much slower than the AK-47, meaning if you are hitting headshots you will kill enemies quicker with the 4570, but the AK-47 has the ability to mow down people at a higher damage than the ARC does. The MS-16 offers a good middle ground between the ARC and the AK-47. It offers more damage than the ARC with a little higher accuracy, but doesn't quite equate to the fire rate of the ARC or the AK-47. My personal opinion of what the best rifle in the game is the AK-47. The mix between damage and speed is very well balanced in my opinion. Some of the choice here depends on you as a player and if you play more aggressively or more passively. Talking more about the ARC, it has the highest rate of fire of all the other rifles, so if spraying and praying is your thing, then that's the gun for you. As I said earlier, the MS-16 is a good middle ground between the ARC and the AK, making it a fun weapon to use when you get bored of the other rifles. There are 3 different styles of shotguns, one being the M133 pump, the second being the SBS breakdown double barrel, and the last being the automatic Spaz 12. Including originals and variants, there are 8 shotguns in the game currently. There's some opinions here, so you might want to keep that in mind with what I'm about to say next. The SBS has a +2 in accuracy versus the M133 and Spaz 12. The SBS also has a +1 in range versus the M133 and the Spaz. Lastly, it has a -1 in handling versus the M133 and Spaz, meaning that statistically it is the best in the game. It is better than the other 2 shotguns in every single aspect other than handling, and it's only worse than them by 1 in that category. However, it is not actually the best in the game. The Spaz 12 is the best in the game, and I will tell you why. Ammo. The Spaz 12 has a larger magazine than the SBS by multiple shots, and it is semi-automatic, meaning it can shoot very quickly and doesn't have to reload as often. Through my testing, even though range is supposedly -1 on the Spaz, I could never actually tell a difference versus the SBS. I think that is partially because they are shotguns. You use them at a close range battle anyway, so it isn't like you are sniping with them. TLDR, the best sidearm in the game is the M79. I'll explain my reasoning for saying it's the best in the game in a moment. 8 different styles of sidearms in the game, 19 if you include all the variants with the originals as well. Statistically, the best sidearm in the game is the 44 Magnum L, or its long cannon variant. It has the best all-around stats, however it shoots very slow, which can be a good thing if you're accurate since it has close to the highest damage, but can also be bad if you run out of ammo in a magazine and swap to your rifle hoping to save yourself, because if you miss, you're dead. So in that regard, I think other pistols / PDWs are better than it. The semi-automatic pistols are pretty close stat-wise, differing only slightly in accuracy and range mostly throughout. And the 1911 is the best in my opinion, meaning you pick whichever is your favorite and not really hurt yourself. All the full auto options are great to save yourself if you never use the sidearms for anything else, but they drain ammo fast and aren't good if your fast-firing primary runs out of ammo and you're hoping to rely on your sidearms. Lastly, we end up on the M79 grenade launcher. The M79 is the best to carry solely because of damage and versatility. It has the highest damage of all sidearms sitting at 9, 10 being the max, and it has large splash damage, ammo type variations, and objective / vehicle stopping power. You can use this thing for everything. I use it to blow up helicopters, shoot down large game that's kicking my blow up silos, you name it. The M79 never lets me down, and I think it's the only choice because of how useful it is. Using the M79 also saves me from having to use a launcher, which frees up a weapon slot for something more useful in a given situation. There are 4 different styles of sniper rifles, but there are 8 to choose from if you include the original gun with their variants. The best in class across all stats is the MVP-50 because of its high accuracy, high damage, and high range. It has the highest accuracy of all snipers in the game. The second rivaling the MVP-50 is the SA-50, sharing the same damage and range but having less accuracy by 1. On the upside, the SA-50 is automatic, so it can shoot more bullets downrange versus its bolt counterpart, the MVP-50. The 308 is better in every single stat category versus the ARCL except rate of fire, meaning that the 308 is better in every situation other than one demanding large fire rates. Don't use the ARCL. There is but, alas, only, however, nevertheless, still, yet, 2 styles of special weapons. One is the flamethrower, in which there are 3 including variants. The other is the Magnum Pulsar. All the flamethrowers have better stats across the board than the Magnum Pulsar, so use the flamethrower in every situation. The Magnum Pulsar can one-shot enemies, but it has a % chance to do so, making it unreliable. It also is notable that the Magnum Pulsar does not affect cars or animals in the same way it affects people. The MP40 is the worst goddamn weapon to ever be crafted by autists. The Germans were supposed to be feared for their battlefield prowess and their weapons during the era of the MP40's creation, but someone forgot to tell the people making the stats for this piece of shit that.
Why, father? Why do you hate me so?
Because you're garbage, son. You're supposed to be good and you're garbage.
Father, please. I only want you to love me.
Now that that sin is out of the way, the best SMG in the class is hands down the Vector. The Vector has equal or higher stats in every category versus every other SMG. The closest second if you don't have the Vector is the MP5K. It is equal or better than other MP5 variants, but has better handling than either one of the other variants have, making it the better of the 3. Alright, with all the information in the video said, the best in-slot weapons in the game, in my own personal opinion, are as follows: AK-47, MVP-50, Spaz-12, and the M79. The 2 best melee weapons are the shovel and the bat and the pipe. I prefer the aluminum bat as my secondary melee. The brass knuckles are also worth getting because it doesn't take up a melee slot and is better across the board versus default fists.
NANI?! お前はもう死んでいる。
Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hope the information helped you. If you liked the video, drop a like. If you didn't, then kill yourself because I worked really fucking hard on it.